The restaurant went completely silent the moment she walked in. Every head turned toward the woman with the gentle face, tired eyes, and a small baby bump visible beneath her simple blue dress. I noticed people trying to hide their laughter behind fake smiles while a few secretly recorded the moment on their phones. Only then did I realize I had been set up. My so-called friends had invited me on a blind date, not because they wanted me to find love, but because they thought it would be hilarious to pair me with a pregnant woman who had already been abandoned by someone else. They expected me to leave in embarrassment, create a dramatic scene, or become the punchline of another cruel joke. They had no idea that before the night ended, every single one of them would regret what they had done. If you believe true love begins with kindness instead of appearances, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Love Tales for more emotional stories that touch the heart. I took a slow breath and stood up as she approached the table. Her nervous smile carried more fear than hope, and it was obvious she already knew people were judging her before she had spoken a single word. She apologized for arriving a few minutes late, explaining that she had not been feeling well during the day. Her voice was soft, and although she tried to remain confident, I could see years of disappointment hiding behind her eyes. Instead of walking away like everyone expected, I pulled out the chair for her and welcomed her warmly. The laughter around us slowly faded as confusion replaced amusement. As we talked, I discovered that her name was Hannah, a 28-year-old elementary school teacher whose life had fallen apart only a few months earlier. The man she loved had disappeared after learning she was expecting a child, leaving her alone with endless hospital appointments, unpaid bills, and the unbearable weight of raising a baby without support. She admitted that she had almost canceled the date because she believed no decent man would willingly spend an evening with someone carrying another man's child. She wasn't looking for someone to rescue her. She simply wanted one evening where someone would treat her like a human being instead of a mistake. Listening to her story changed something inside me. While everyone else saw a pregnant woman, I saw someone carrying incredible courage. Every difficult day she survived proved she was stronger than most people in that restaurant. Her hands shook slightly whenever she spoke about the future, but every sentence ended with hope for the little life growing inside her. She never complained about her suffering. Instead, she worried whether her child would one day ask why his father had disappeared. Across the room, I noticed my friends watching us with disappointed expressions. Their plan was failing. They expected me to escape after 5 minutes. Yet we were laughing together over childhood memories and sharing dreams we had once believed were impossible. Hannah confessed she still wanted to finish her master's degree after the baby was born because she wanted to provide a better life for her child. I told her about losing my own mother when I was young and how my father had worked tirelessly to raise me alone. We both understood loneliness in different ways, and somehow that understanding built a bridge between two strangers. Dinner ended, but neither of us wanted the evening to finish. We walked through a nearby park where cool evening air replaced the noise of the restaurant. Streetlights reflected across the quiet lake while families laughed in the distance. Hannah admitted this was the first time in months she had smiled without pretending. She thanked me for seeing her instead of judging her circumstances. I realized that sometimes the strongest people are those who continue believing in tomorrow despite carrying yesterday's pain. Just as we prepared to leave, several of my friends approached us with mocking smiles. One of them sarcastically asked whether I planned to become someone else's baby's father. Another laughed loudly enough for nearby strangers to hear. They expected me to join their joke. Instead, I calmly looked each of them in the eyes and told them something they would never forget. I said that the greatest tragedy wasn't that Hannah had been abandoned while pregnant. The real tragedy was standing before grown adults who found entertainment in humiliating someone already carrying enough pain. I reminded them that character is revealed not by how we treat successful people, but by how we treat those who need compassion most. The smiles disappeared instantly. Nearby diners who had overheard everything began staring at my friends with visible disappointment. One elderly woman quietly applauded. Another couple smiled warmly at Hannah. For the first time thus far. Chapter 2. A promise that changed everything. The night that began as a cruel prank refused to leave my thoughts. Long after I drove home, I kept remembering Hannah's quiet smile and the sadness hidden behind her brave face. Everyone else had seen a pregnant woman with a complicated past, but I had seen someone who refused to let heartbreak destroy her kindness. The next morning, I sent her a simple message asking how she was feeling. I expected nothing in return, but a few minutes later, she replied with genuine gratitude. That small conversation became another the next day, and another after that. Before long, we were talking every evening, sharing our fears, hopes, and dreams.
Slowly, two strangers who had met under humiliating circumstances began building a friendship based on honesty and respect. The months that followed were not easy. Hannah's pregnancy became more difficult, and there were days when she struggled to even walk without pain.
Hospital visits became frequent and the medical bills continued to grow. She often worried about how she would provide for her baby after maternity leave. Although she never asked me for help, I couldn't ignore what she was facing. I started driving her to doctor's appointments, helping with groceries, and fixing little things around her apartment. None of it felt like a sacrifice. Every smile she gave after a difficult day reminded me that kindness always finds its way back. As we spent more time together, I discovered the incredible woman hidden beneath all the pain. Hannah never allowed bitterness to define her. Even after everything she had endured, she still volunteered to help children at the community center whenever she felt strong enough. She believed every child deserved love, especially those growing up without perfect families. Watching her comfort frightened children while carrying her own made me realize how extraordinary she truly was. Not everyone understood our growing bond. Some relatives questioned my decisions, warning me that raising another man's child would ruin my future. A few friends who had once laughed at the prank still whispered behind my back. They insisted I deserved someone with less emotional baggage. Their words hurt, but every time doubt appeared, I remembered the courage Hannah showed every single day. I realized that people who judge from a distance rarely understand the strength it takes to survive life's hardest moments. One rainy evening, Hannah broke down for the first time since we met. She admitted she was terrified that her baby would grow up feeling unwanted. She feared her child would one day ask why his father had disappeared, and she worried she would never have the right answer. Seeing tears fall from someone who had been so strong nearly broke my heart. I gently reminded her that children remember who stayed, not who walked away. Families are built by love, not simply by biology. Those words didn't erase her pain, but they gave her hope when she needed it most. A few weeks later, the day finally arrived. Hannah went into labor earlier than expected, and I rushed her to the hospital through heavy rain. Hours felt like days as I waited outside the delivery room, praying everything would be all right. Finally, a nurse walked out with a smile and announced that both mother and baby were healthy. When I stepped into the room, I saw Hannah holding a beautiful baby boy wrapped in a tiny blue blanket. Tears filled my eyes as the little boy wrapped his tiny fingers around mine. In that unforgettable moment, I realized my life had changed forever. Life after the birth wasn't perfect. Sleepless nights, endless diapers, and constant responsibilities tested both of us. Yet every challenge only brought us closer together. The little boy filled our home with laughter, hope, and a future neither of us had expected on the night we first met. Watching Hannah become an incredible mother made me admire her even more. Months later, the same group of people who had planned the humiliating blind date heard about our life together. One by one, they reached out to apologize. They admitted they had judged Hannah without knowing her story, and confessed they had never expected kindness to overcome cruelty. Their prank had unintentionally brought two lonely people together, but the guilt they carried remained long after the laughter had disappeared. On our first anniversary of meeting, I returned to the same restaurant where everything had begun. This time there were no whispers, no mocking smiles, and no cruel jokes. I looked into Hannah's eyes, got down on one knee, and asked her to spend the rest of her life with her.